Hello, I hope I'm audible and let's start this session very quickly. I'm just going to share my screen. I hope you can see the screen. Okay, so in today's session, we will be learning about the vocabulary and phrases for both maps and letters. As you know, map is something that comes in the writing task 1 for IELTS academics, and letters you have for the writing task 1 for IELTS General. Now, we've already talked about the difference between academic and general, but just to give you a brief again, academic is taken by people, or academic is written by people who want to study further. On the contrary, general is undertaken by students or people who want to go for job, PR, migration, and all of the reasons. So, in terms of the structure, there's not a lot of difference except for the fact in the writing task 1 and also in the reading passage. Apart from the entire test remains constant and standardized. So now in today's session we are going to talk about the vocabulary and the phrases that is used in the writing task 1, which is maps, and for the writing task 1 of the general IELTS, which is letters. So already. So now when we talk about how to write map-based report in the IELTS, you know it already that in the writing task 1, which is report writing, you can get a singular pictorial representative graph, or you can get a combination of several graphs, so like 2 at max. So you could get a combination of bar chart and pie chart, or you could get 2 pie charts, or you could get 1 line graph and 1 map. Meaning to say that in the writing section 1, where you have a map which is an infograph, you have to really understand, and then you have to write about the key features of the map, and then you have to of course describe the map. So particularly today we'll be covering the map-based report writing, but you should be aware of the fact that there's a lot of different kinds of graphs that you can definitely expect in the writing task 1. Let's move forward. So let me just give you a brief introduction. So map-based report writing typically appears in the academic. Typically, it only appears in the writing task 1. You will not have any report writing in the writing task 1 for general, but you will definitely have a report writing for academic writing task 1. Now what you have to do is, in this specific kind of the task, you will be presented with a map. It could be a development for a particular area, a plan, it could be a diagram, and you have to understand in the way that you can comprehend the highest key points and also some things that did not really change, and then you have to explain that in the body structure. Okay, so we talk about trends, we talk about any noticeable changes, we talk about the fact that what did not really change, we say it hit plateau. So all of that you have to make a mark of, or I would say you have to make a note of, and then when you start writing, you need to explain everything within 20 minutes, and the word count should be anywhere from 150 words to 170. 150 words being the mandatory minimum word count. If you write less than 150 words, you are definitely going to be penalized. So now when we talk about map will refer to same location at different times. Of course, let's say Delhi in 1999 and 2025. It could be a map of Delhi, it could be a map of a park, it could be a map of a small town village. So what you have to do is, you have to understand the changes, you have to understand the graph, you have to understand the development wherever it happened, and then you have to explain all of that in the body paragraphs. Now the map could be of the present time, it could be something that will transpire in the future. So it could be a development plan for the future, it could be something that happened in the past. So you should be able to use vocabulary as per the map. So if it is saying this is a plan for the year 2030, so you will not say you can see a map and there is a bridge if it is in 2020-30, because then the tense would be future tense. So make sure that you are adhering to the grammatical rules, because of course grammar is one such band descriptor that is going to be constantly there throughout. And then when we talk about what else to be done, you need to understand the required changes and you have to write it in the report writing. And what you have to do is when we consider maps as opposed to other kinds of graph, they are considered to be easiest, because in a pie chart, in a bar diagram, in a line graph, in any other sorts of map, you have a lot of numbers to analyze. But in a map, you just have to see development, you just have to see the significant changes. Even this is true for the case of what are they called? I just So in the case of process diagrams, where you actually understand a process, this is also very true, because you just have to explain any process. It could be a linear process, it could be a cyclical process. So all of that becomes easier to explain, because there's not a lot of graph, there's not a lot of numbers. You just explain what you see, right? So let's start with the session. I was just giving you a brief. Now we go hand into the section. Okay. When we talk about the structure, this is going to be a standard structure. Okay, no matter what kind of graph may come to you, you will not change the structure. So you will always commence with an introduction. Introduction is nothing but a paraphrasing of whatever the question is. Then you need to write an overview. So overview is basically your conclusion, but in the report writing we call it overview, where you actually explain what are the key features or what are the key notes that you can see in the map. And then you need to explain the map in 2 body paragraphs. So you can talk about pre and post. Just give me a second. I'm so sorry, Yasmin. Can you see it now? Okay. All right. So you need to exude your explanatory skills, is what I'm trying to say. And if it is a map, you need to also be aware of the fact that there are going to be 2 kinds of directions used. First is going to be your spatial directions, which is next, across, right, opposite, adjacent. And then you have your directional vocabulary, which is your north, south, east, west, and all of that. Now, we commence with the introduction. We just paraphrase the question. Post that, we write the overview. Overview is nothing but an amalgamation of whatever you've seen in the graph. It could be the highest note, it could be the lowest notes, it could be what did not really undergo any significant change, or what was higher initially only to come to a lower strata after a point in time. So all of that you need to make a note of, and you have to write down in the overview. Then when you come to the body paragraphs, explain first draft, and then let's say if it's a map, so explain it how it was before, and then how were the changes in the after, right? Or how did the map undergo a significant development in the later stages. So that's how we basically structure it. I hope it is clear. Let's continue the discourse. So okay. Now there are certain things that are required from you. The first one is to understand the task. You will have instructions very clearly given, so you have to read them and examine the map provided. Now you have to of course you have to keep an eye for information such as locations, directions, changes over times, and comparisons between maps, because of course map is nothing but a cumulative data of today and maybe tomorrow, or past or present. So you need to have a really bird's eye view of what was the actual change. Then we start with the introduction. I told you that introduction is nothing but the paraphrasing of whatever the question is. So if the question is like the chart talks about the development of an area, you can say the given map illustrates the development that transpired in this area over a period of time. So that's how you basically paraphrase. And then overview is nothing but the summary of what did you observe in the map, what changed, what did not change, what pattern remained constant, if there was any very significant change, be it in terms of increase or decrease. You write everything in the overview. Then when we talk about the detailed description, these are your body paragraphs. In body paragraph 1, you will explain you can divide the data as per your convenience. There's no right and wrong way of describing the data. So you can choose one side of the map before, and then in the next paragraph you can choose the other side. If it is a graph, let's say it has only, if it's a pie chart and it has only 5 contents, so you can divide 3 and 2. If you want to divide the highest versus the lowest, you have your prerogative, you can definitely do that as well. So there's no strict right or wrong way of describing the map or data in general. It's completely your creativity. But you cannot steer clear from not writing the data. Like in terms of figures, you definitely have to mention all of that in your body paragraph, and your overview is devoid of any denomination. So you will not use any numbers in your overview. All the numbers, all the datas are to be used in the body paragraph. Okay, so let's move forward. Now have a look over here. This is basically how a map looks like. Of course, you will not get the similar one. You will definitely get another one. But if you look, there's this present, and then you have 1995, which is your past. And the question is, the map below shows the development of a seaside village between 1995 and the present. So present would be for 1995, everything that you would write would come in the past tense. But for present, it will be here in the present tense. So tenses are to be really taken seriously. You cannot use different tenses for different kind of data. If it's in the past tense, only past tense. If it is in the present tense, of course, you will not use anything but present tense to describe all of that. Now, when you have such data in front of you, you will also be given a sheet of paper and pen or pencil. So what you can do is look at the map, study it, and also write down any significant changes that you can see. For example, farmland has been developed into or redeveloped into a golf and a tennis court. There's no forest park anymore in the present. There was a hotel. Now in the present, there's a hotel plus a car park. The fish market has been exterminated and now stands apartments, and then the shop has been changed into restaurants. And I think housing they have included so housing they have included couple of new houses on the western side, right? So this is what basically we do. We study the map in a very general way, and then also, while you write, since it's a map, you will have to use words which include spatial directions like adjacent, next to, opposite. So you definitely need to know what does opposite mean. You definitely need to be aware of what does adjacent mean, what does next to means, what does a winding road mean, what does the far end mean. So all of that definitely is to be included, so that your map does not sound very mundane and it is very precise, and whatever you're trying to make sense of is actually coming through with what you write. So spatial directions and vocabulary, spatial directions as well as your directions like the normal directions is to be included, and included heavily in the map. Okay, let's move forward. Now, how do you maintain or identify the main features? There are certain things that you have to ask yourself. The first is, what are the periods that are shown? For example, is it between 10 years? If it's between a decade's time or half a century, you will have maps that are like centuries apart as well. So first of all, look at the periods. Then also look at the differences which are like very significant. And then also look at things that did not really change at all, and then you come at a consensus that I'm going to include all of this. So what you do is you jot down the differences, you write it down on a sheet of paper, so you will have better clarity. And then once you know what were the significant changes or the trends did not change at all, you have your overview. Then remember, only in the map you will not have any denominations, you will have no numbers, and also in the process. But apart from that, if you get any kind of report, you will have a lot of numbers, and you have to write all those numbers in the way that we write respectively, we write in contrast. So all of these connectors plus the denominations, everything needs to be included in the body paragraphs, and no numbers to be used in the overview. Remember this. Now, if we look at this, what you can do is, you can, on the side of your sheet, you can definitely talk about the features that disappeared. So the farmland and forest park disappeared, fish market disappeared, The fishing industry completely obliterated. You have no shops anymore in the present, and then you have new features that are there, which is your golf and tennis court. You have sea view apartments, you have restaurants. Then additional features, the number of houses definitely increased, and the restaurant has been converted into cafe. No. Let me see. Hotel and cafe, hotel and cafe. Oh yeah, so the shop has been converted into restaurants, and then the main road has been extended more towards the west. So these are your very significant, very evident changes. You write it down on a sheet of paper so that you know exactly what you will describe when you start writing the map. And once you start writing, there's no correct way, there's no incorrect way. You just have to describe everything. So if you want, you can start from north up, then go to the east, then south and west. Otherwise, if you want to go anti-clockwise, that's also completely your choice. So what do you have to write is completely your prerogative, but it should include all the significant changes that the map underwent. So this is about. Now this is a model answer. If you look at the model answer, you will see certain things. You will, and I think it's not a very incoherent map. It's very easy to understand. So there are two maps that illustrate the coastal village from 1995 to the present day. We actually saw that. Then in the overall, you've just written what did you see that were the significant changes. The overall could be better over here, but it's not really that explanatory. Then you have then you start with all the data. But when you talk about the data, you have to use the directional vocabulary. So you have the northeastern side, you have the northwest, you have southern region, you have opposite, you have additionally, which is a connector. Definitely it showcase that you have a very flexible way of speaking in English. Then you have the spatial directions like across, along, on the southern, in the southern part. So these are the exact words that definitely needs to be there. Then you have furthermore, has expanded. Now also, one thing that you have to be very careful about is when you're using a vocabulary, you will not say a hotel was made, right? We don't say made. It's not something that you prepare. So we say a hotel was. Can you tell me a synonym for if there is a construction of something? What do we use? Do we say we are making houses? Or what else do you say? Exactly, houses are built and decisions are made. So you will not say I'm trying to build a decision. Although if you look at it carefully, they can be used synonymously. But of course, the only thing is of the context. If the context is not sitting well, for example, a lot of people say I did mistake. Is this correct? I did mistake. It sounds almost that this mistake was made purposefully, right? Or you did it purposefully. So we say I made a mistake, right? So the words have very profound meanings, and if you're not using them correctly, the whole meaning, it undergoes a significant change. And what I don't think so you will do justice to what you wanted to say initially. So choose your words really wisely, and then and then a lot of people, they would use a lot of vocabulary just to make their statements sound very profound. But literally, if you look at it, like if you go into the depth of it, these statements, they really add up to nothing. So if you are using great vocabularies but they are not contextual, your statements definitely will sound profound, but they will add up to no zilch meaning. So make sure even if you're using words, you're using them in a very correct manner, instead of just showcasing. I mean, that's definitely a boon if you use good vocabulary, but if you don't know the meaning and you just learned something and now you just want to show it, just make sure that you remember the context. Otherwise, if I say I'm always very healthy and I'm a valetudinarian, but there's this contrasting way of saying, if you're saying you're healthy, you cannot be a valetudinarian, right? So somebody who's learned the word valetudinarian, or somebody who wants to say I'm a very there's this another word for optimistic. I think it's called Panglossian. So although the vocabulary definitely is very nice, I mean, you might have not heard a lot of people say it, but if you say I'm never sick and I'm a valetudinarian, these are contrasting words, because a valetudinarian is somebody who keeps on making others believe that he or she is constantly sick at all times. So please, even if you're learning new words, make sure you remember the meaning and do not say something that is completely out of the blue, okay? And also it has no context. So now coming to the key vocabulary used for describing maps. I think it's going to be better if you just take a screenshot for this one. So these are the vocabularies that you can definitely use in any kind of map. When we talk about prepositions, you have on, next, near, across, adjacent, from north to south, from east to west, by, nearby, between, beside, over, and along. And when we talk about other kinds of spatial directions, you have definitely across, from, under, over, beneath, opposite to, along, through, as far as, midpoint, halfway. So I would suggest you to take a screenshot and see exactly when are these prepositions are to be used, so that you exactly know the context, okay? And you will use a lot of spatial directions in the map, because exactly in the map you have to describe where was the place. So we say on the northern side, on the eastern side. Just take it in your real day-to-day life example. If you reach somewhere, or if you are trying to reach somewhere, you would want to know which side to turn, left, to turn right, to take the east, to take the west. Similar is the case when you're explaining a map. You need to explain it very impeccably, which side do we have to go to, okay? Now, when we talk about if there is any changes, so if there is an expansion of something, we say enlarged, expanded, extended, made bigger, developed. When we are trying to remove something, we say demolished, knocked down. Don't use knocked down, it's an informal language. Pulled down, removed, exterminated, obliterated. These are the words that you can use. When you are trying to add more things, we say constructed, built, erected, introduced, added, planted, opened up. So again, remember, if you're using, you will not say, "Achha, we can actually say they have recently opened up a new hotel," but opened up is something that we use for usual facilities, not for, let's say, the amenities or greater places, okay? And then if something was changed into something, for example, the restaurants were changed into cafes, or the houses were changed into cafes, so we say redeveloped, replaced, made into, modernized, renovated, and converted. So these are some vocabularies that you can definitely use to describe any kind of change pattern. Now, when we talk about phrases for letters, if you are going for general IELTS, only then you will have to write a letter in your writing task 1. But for if you're going for academic, you just have to write a report. Now, when we talk about letters, you need to know that there are 3 kinds of letters that you can anticipate in the letter writing. The first is your formal, the next is the informal, and the third one, quite unpopularly known, but it's a semi-formal letter. Formal letters written to your formal letters are written to people who have position of power, and you have a lot of at least to on the face of it, you have a lot of reverence for these people. You know, they are higher in terms of position, so you need to have a lot of reverence for them. Semi-formal letters are written to your acquaintances, people who are not really your friends or your family. So, and they are also not somebody who have a lot of power of position. Then we talk about informal definitely these kinds of letters are written to people you really love, so your close ones. So structure we'll talk some other days, but I'll tell you. So when we're talking about the structure, every question will in the letter writing will have a question, and then there are going to be 3 to 4 bullet points that follows. So what you have to do is you have to first, we do not write any dear sir, dear madam, we do not write the sender's address, we do not write the receiver's address, we do not write the date, because these are the shenanigans we did when we were back at school. Now in the letter you just have to begin by dear, so no XYZ 1 2 3. If it's a formal letter, you just write dear sir or madam. And if it is an informal letter, you will have to write the first words, first name, the maiden name of the person. And then once you've written dear and the name, then you straight away move to the purpose of writing the letter. I'm writing this letter like over here. That's called an opening phrase. In the opening phrase, if it is a formal letter, these are the options that you can use. You can say I'm writing this letter to inform you that I'm writing to express my concern. If you want to, like, suggest something, or you are meeting, or you have met with something which is concerning. I'm writing to request information about. I'm writing to apply for the position of. I'm writing to bring up to your kind attention. So these are the opening phrases for formal letters. Similarly, once you've written the opening phrase, once you've written the purpose of writing the letter, you basically follow the bullet points. So the number of bullet points which are there in the question will be the number of subject or the body paragraphs that you will have in the letter. If there are 3 bullet points, you will have 3 paragraphs. If there are 4 bullet points, you will have 4 paragraphs in the letter, but the order should not change. Okay. And the next, once you've written whatever was to be was to be written in the body paragraph, after that you give a closing phrase. Closing phrase is nothing but what do you anticipate from this letter or from the person. So the very famous formal closing phrases are: look forward to your prompt response, thank you for your kind attention in this matter, please do not hesitate to contact me, I would appreciate your immediate attention to this matter, please take a prompt decision or make a prompt whatever changes. So basically opening phrases, closing phrases, and then you write thanking you. If it is a formal letter, you write yours faithfully. If it's an informal letter, you can write anything that you want, much love, with love, and all of that. And then if it's a semi-formal letter, just write yours sincerely. So the mnemonics that you can learn is F for formal, F for faithfully, S for semi-formal, S for sincerely. When we talk about semi-formal letters, again the structure remains constant. The opening phrases will differ. So since it is a semi-formal letter, so that means you're not really very close to that person and you don't really have a very great relation as well. So these are also a bit formal in the context. You cannot write informal language. However, when we talk about informal letters, you have to make sure the first one you cannot write, I hope this letter finds you well. I mean, it's a very formal way to say. The next one, how have you been? I was thrilled to receive your letter last week. I wanted to share something exciting. It's great to hear from you. Now, for formal letters, there has to be a tone of familiarity with the person. So you will not say my dog, who is a pug and is white in color, gets really angry very soon. You will say the name of the dog and is a very jocular dog, or you can say is a very short-tempered dog, and as you know, the last time it was a havoc. So you make sure that you give inferences or references from the past so that there's this connection that is felt in the letter. And then, of course, if it's an informal letter, you will not really say, I'm looking forward to catching up with you soon. You can just say, best wishes, see you soon, can't wait to have you, can't wait to meet you. So that what I'm trying to say is, with the language, if it's an informal letter, use informal tone. If it's a formal letter, use the formal tone. Semi-formal letters will also have formal tones only. Now coming to the body paragraphs and phrases. These are the body paragraphs that if you are supposed to make a request, these are the words that you can say. If you are expressing gratitude, these are the sentences that you can write. If it is a semi-formal letter and the thing is the same, you're making request or expressing gratitude. So these are almost same, okay, formal or in semi-formal letters, because they are written in the context of, let's say, some official work or when you are trying to make requests. So there's not a lot of change in the language also. But for an informal letter, you have to sound very affectionate, okay? You have to sound very informal. You will not ask your best friend to, like this, I will be highly indebted if you mark your presence in my abode. Of course, it's going to be sounding very formal. So make sure with the language you are very clear. If it's a formal letter, you have to use really formal language. If it's an informal letter, you are free to use informal language. You can use, see, the thing is, I forget this term. Can you help me for the very last time to When we write C-A-N-T as C-A-N apostrophe T, what are we using? I think there's a term for it, right? But it just has slipped my memory lane. Like don't, D-O-N apostrophe T. What are they called? I think they're called. The term starts with C, I'm sure. I think contractors, contractions, I believe. So in a formal letter, you cannot write you cannot use any contractions or contractors. I'm not really sure. Don't quote me on the word. I could be wrong. I think they're called whatever. You just search it. I think it's contractors. And so if it's a formal letter, you cannot write contractors. So you do not say I, or you do not write do not don't I can't wait. I am you say I cannot wait. But if it's an informal letter, you have to use a lot of contractors, and you have to use a lot of exclamation mark, okay? The question marks, the commas, the apostrophes, the exclamation marks. That is something that you write a lot when you're writing an informal letter. And this is how we basically write the writing task 1, which is map. And also, I mean, you have a lot of more pictorial representations, but map is one of them. And for writing task 1 of general IELTS, you have letters. So any questions or any doubts that you have, you can ask me now. Anything that did not make sense, anything that you would want to ask. Okay, Rajat, it's very clear to you. Yasmin, what about you? Is it all clear? Understand, or any questions that you have, please do ask me. Otherwise, we will not have any live tomorrow. We run the live sessions from Monday to Friday. Saturday is an off. So I will see you on Monday. Thank you so much for joining the session. I hope it was helpful. All right, so let's call it a day. Thank you so much. Have a great weekend, guys. Bye.